She lived down in Houston, and that in Houston, very often it's so hot and so miserable. But that this one weekend, the rain that they had waited for a long time finally came. And when that rain came, it was a gully washer, as they call it. It rained and flooded everything. The sewers backed up, the streets backed up, cars floated away, horses floated away. It was such an awful big amount of water. And this woman did not have very much money. And so she didn't have a car, and she had to go from her little flat to the corner and wait for the bus every day. Well, in this flooded streets and the big puddles all over, everyone taking the bus had to stand way back from the bus stop. And that was when she began to notice that first day after the big rains that in the huge amount of water that was there in the corner at the bus stop where the sewers had backed up, that's where there was. That's what I said. So she noticed that in this pool of water, there were tadpoles. There were baby frogs, not fish. There were baby frogs. Eggs that frogs had laid had hatched and were now baby tadpoles. And every day, with great pleasure, she went and she watched the tadpoles get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And soon they had fine tails, and soon they had good legs, and soon they had excellent bulging eyes like frogs will do. But she also noticed that the sun was out every day and that the giant puddle that they were in was getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And even though they crowded together, she knew that they were not going to last. And when she told us this story, we had become quite attached to these tadpoles in her telling, and we did not want anything bad to happen to them. So we were very happy to hear that she took her small funds from her small paycheck and went to a local pet store. And there she got one of those pink plastic little fish aquariums with a little pink plastic top that snaps on with a little hole in the top that you can feed the fish through. And she bought herself one of those with the few funds that she had. And when she went to the bus stop that day, she was there at the last possible time for those tadpoles to still make it in that pool of water. They were starting to gasp for breath and squeezing together so tight there was no room between them. So she took her pink plastic aquarium, put it down into the water, and scooped every one of those tadpoles up. She didn't miss a one. And when she got them all up, she snapped the pink plastic top down, and she didn't go to work that morning. Instead, she went down to where the water was, down to where the flowing river was, unsnapped the top, and she dumped those tadpoles out and poured them on into the water where they lived to grow up to be the finest frogs, she was quite sure. But then she surprised all of us by ending her story saying this. And when the frog people speak of the great goddess in the sky that came and rescued them and brought them to their new land, they speak of me.